All right, guys. Right. Well, first things first, then let's have a bit of an introduction from you all. Who's here and what's your role in Terminal Sun?
When you first, Adam.
Adam Walker here, guitars in Terminal Sun, one of two guitarists.
I'm Simon. I'm vocalist and artist and lyricist.
And Daryl on drums.
Guys, where are you right now? That's a very, very busy background. A lot of books.
A lot of books, yeah. This is my my library.
Incredible! It's incredible. What sort of things are you? Is it any and all? Are we talking fiction, non-fiction, everything, or are you specific to?
There's a lot of fantasy and sci-fi. If I turn the camera around, there's a lot of little girls rubbish as well. Just
that's his
transparency.
He hasn't got any daughters. It's just pictures. He just likes little girl stuff.
All right, fellas, then straight up, how's your day been going? How been up to much today?
Working.
Yeah, day job. Yeah.
Usual crap.
Yeah.
But I finished. I don't go back to work until the 20th of September now. So pretty pleased about that because I'm off to Iceland on Thursday for 15 days.
That's a long shopping trip, that, isn't it?
It is.
Oh my God, it's amazing. Just a holiday, yeah?
Yeah. I'm driving around the perimeter. I'm going.
Incredible. You've been there before?
Yeah, I went about 4 years ago. Did about a quarter of it in the winter. So we said we'd go back in the summer. So I'm doing a full going around driving the entire island and going up to see the new volcano.
Oh, very nice. I have to ask then. I got to ask, man. What's their COVID rules like? What are you going to have to do when you get there?
Oh, geez. Well, it's not too bad. We've had to have PCR tests, which we're just waiting on the results of now. We did that today. Obviously, got to be double jabbed. And then when we're out there, we've got to have tests before we can fly back in. And then we've got to have tests when we get back in the country. So massive ball ache, but it was booked in January, and who'd have thought in January this year we'd have still been in this load of bollocks that we're in now.
Well, that's the next question then for all three of you. Individually then, how have you been holding up over the last 18 months or so?
Shall I go first?
Go on.
Go on then, yeah. Well, yeah. I'd rather sort of forget the last the start of 2020, but about halfway through things started to get better. For me personally, at the start of it, I was fed up of doing my day job from home. Now, a couple of weeks ago, they asked me again, do you want to carry on working from home? Do you want to go back into the office? And I'm like, you know what? I'll stay at home. During the day, I'll be a house husband. I've got a dog that we ended up raising, from a puppy during lockdown. And yes, I can take her for a walk and, play guitar for a bit, do what the heck I feel when I'm on breaks. What can I do when I'm in an office in Sheffield City Centre? Go to the Tesco, buy a Kit Kat, walk back to the office, eat the Kit Kat. Not that good, is it? So, yeah. That's how personal life's been for me.
I mean, it's incredible. I'm glad that you've kind of been able to get to that stage where now you're actually enjoying your time at home out of the office. But before we move on to the rest, I have to ask then, what, if anything, has helped you get through what has been ultimately a difficult period for just about everybody?
Well, music, for one. I know it sounds really, really obvious, but, that's why I'm here with these guys and doing what I do. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, I'm that passionate about lots of kinds of music. Obviously, metal's right at the core of it. Playing guitar is another one. Honestly, it's the one thing I do when any mental bullshit, whether it's anxiety, depression, anything like that, goes out the window, is completely irrelevant, and I'm just in the zone. And, that's what keeps me there in my happy place.
I think we all feel that.
Yeah.
Though. I mean, the thing is when, you might have had a miserable day at work and you're knackered and kids are getting on your tits or whatever, and you think, I've got to drive down at practice room and go and practice for 3 hours, and then when you get there, all that bullshit goes and you get to scream down a microphone or smash drums about, and it's catharsis. And to be honest, the worst bit of the lockdown was the bit when we couldn't actually practice together, because that was the
that was,
I think,
yeah,
it's the one
difficult.
thing that's really sort of held us together through this, was the being able to get down to that practice room and just start smashing some music out, and you know, writing the EP or recording the EP, and just rehearsing, and the, you know, we don't do this for anybody else. We do this for us. This is our, we to be honest, it's nice that other people like it. It's nice that people want to come and see us and all that stuff. But if you told me tomorrow, well, if you carried on doing it, then nobody's going to hear your music and nobody's going to come and see you, I still do it, because I'm making the music that I want to hear.
Yep.
And as sad as it is, I can put our stuff on and listen to it over and over again without getting bored of it or hating it or going, no, I don't like that bit or whatever. And other things I've been involved in the past as an artist and stuff. I mean, you know, you look at a piece of work that you're doing and you immediately hate it. Generally, you start work on it and it's like, oh, this isn't what I imagined. This is rubbish. And then you go through a bit where, oh, this is okay. This is getting better. And then, you know, and then that kind of, it gets really good. And then it kind of slides off. And then you start worrying about what the people are going to think. And then it's like, this is a piece of shit. I wish I'd never seen it again. And I don't get that with this. I don't get that. Everything that we've done so far, I've been, if not 100%, 99.5% happy with. And I can live with that just about, because I am a bit of a control freak.
Self-admitted.
Yeah, well, you know, you've got to think about that quality. You got to think, you know, am I happy putting my name to this product or this song or this thing? Is it good enough? And it's got to be, you've got to be right up there. You've got to think, you know what, I couldn't have done any better with this, with time restraints or money or whatever. This is as absolutely as good as it could be. And we've never put any limitations on, you know, when we go in and record, it's not like, well, we've got this budget, we'll go in, we've only got this amount of time. If it takes more time, we just put more money in, put more hours in, just keep going until we're all literally 100% happy with it. And that's it. That's we agreed that right at the beginning. There's no compromises at all.
Well, how are you going back to the how have you been coping over the last 18 months? Then how have you personally been coping? And likewise, the same question, what's helped you, if anything?
Well, apart from the music, box sets.
Binging,
Mandalorian.
Of course.
Fortitude.
Well, you're not a Tiger King guy, because I know that was a big thing at the start.
No, not my bag. That.
I watched like the first 3, I think, and then I was like, nah, put Disney Plus back on, get on that Star Wars button, go on.
I was building some weird, well, it looks a bit like a Indiana Jones set in my back garden for quite a while. I think I'm going through a bit of a nervous breakdown. It's got a massive Ganesh statue in it and pools and plants everywhere and stuff.
Wow.
It's a bit weird.
That sounds incredible. You must have a big garden.
Yeah. It takes a lot of maintaining. I hate it. I hate gardening. It's garbage. I'd rather be sat doing music and stuff. But, you know, if you got a garden, you got to do it. Turn it into something that's at least looks like a Temple of Doom.
I live in a flat in London. We don't have gardens in this place, so, you know, enjoy it.
This is the problem of the South, unfortunately. We have abundant space in the north, lots of room for us all to live with massive gardens.
Love it. And yourself then, go on, how you been holding up in the last 18 months? And again, what's been helping you?
I think my biggest thing is my drive. Apart from the music, I work in the charity sector. I look after people with addictions, so I've kind of got a job that I get a lot out of, and we've had to kind of reinvent the wheel a lot of times over the last year. So like it or leave it, I've been kind of stuck to that, and I've had to jump through a lot of hoops to keep the charity afloat. So that, as well as homeschooling, I've been a busy man, but I've just been kind of going on adrenaline all the way through, especially that first bit when we couldn't practice and we couldn't make music. It was all just about surviving, doing what you had to do, and then suddenly we could get in the room again, and the balance was restored.
Okay, guys,
feverish.
It's awesome. I mean, because everybody's got such individual stories from this period, from the biggest to the smallest bands in this country alone, let alone the rest of the world. It's always interesting to find out what everyone's individual sort of cases have been. So we are going to go into the first sort of nominations now, and then we're going to talk. We're going to come back to the EP and the future. So the first one is always the most difficult for most bands, it seems, because it focuses on games or books. It was originally just games, but it turns out not everybody plays them. So books was thrown in as well. You each got one individual choice. We'll start start from the left, in my view, across to the right. And a game or a book. Tell me why you would take it to a desert island with you.
Ooh, tough choice. Do you know what? I'm going to go book. And it is a slightly jarring choice for me personally.
Use it as
kindling. We could use it as kindling. Yeah, multi-purpose. Multi-purpose. End of the day. Yeah. Lots of things you could do. You could sort of
toilet paper.
Yeah, you could draw on the like any sort of spare pages or anything like that.
You're going to take a blank book.
Well, yeah, that's the idea. I'm going to take a notebook essentially. Yeah.
Not sure that's quite what you...
No, I think that was a question. No, anyway, my book is Johnny Got His Gun by Dalton Trumbo.
Wow.
If that's how you say his name. Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, it's what Metallica based won on all the lyrics for it. And I got onto it through being a huge Metallica fan, and they were one of the first bands I got into in my late teens, and seeing the video on Beavis and Butthead back in there on MTV and getting a bit obsessed with it and finding out, where the clips in the video were from, leading on to that. I found out about the film and saw that, found out of the book. But if you think about how, the video might have made you feel the first time you saw it, assuming it's the one with the clips from the movie and the same name as the book, then times that by a million when you read the book. It's just, it makes you question your entire existence. It's really profound, amazing.
You see, I mean, my association is probably like a lot of people's. I've never read the book. My only association is via one, and obviously the video the clips that you get from the movie. And from that, obviously, it comes across quite a harrowing experience.
Yeah.
Is that the same in the book then?
It is. It's the way it leads you into it that's really quite profound. Without giving too much away, if anyone's interested in it, but sort of trying to cause a bit of intrigue into it. You get so far into the book, probably about a quarter of the way in, before you actually find out that what's being talked about is actually a dream. You don't actually realize straight away that the chap is, he's got no arms, legs, etc. Taking his mind, taking his arms, taking his legs, and everything else that's, you'll know from one. And he has a phone ringing, and all of a sudden it slowly dawns on him that, it's not actually reality, it's a dream, and starts to slowly realize where he is, and it draws it out in this realization, and that's the bit that really made a lasting impression on me.
It doesn't sound like the kind of book that you could read over and over again, though.
I like a challenging read. I think I've read it twice. Yeah.
Incredible.
Curiosity, maybe.
Well, yeah, I think that's got to be it, right? I wonder how many people have read the book, or at least in the movie and whatever, just purely based off, I love Metallica, and I want to see what this is.
I've got a tendency for that, going down rabbit holes. I go down some year-long rabbit holes sometimes, I think.
All right, next.
Okay, I'm going to pick another book. not as probably not as deep as Adam's, but I'm gonna choose Brian Bates's The Way of Weird, which is a tale of an Anglo-Saxon sorcerer. It was a book that I read after getting Sabbath's Dreamweaver album, which is based entirely on that book. And I think I've got a thing about concept albums. I just love concept albums, and certainly leading on to some probably the record that I would take, which is coming up. This was so after listening to the album and realizing, you know, what it was about, I went and hunted the book down. And as somebody who's very interested in history and ancient religion and superstition, shamanism, all those sort of things, it was the first book that I'd read, certainly, that kind of made sense from a pagan perspective. I'd sort of flirted with a lot of different sort of magical systems back then, and just from an interest point of view, not from a belief point of view, but just interested in why people believe in things. I've always been interested in religion, not religious at all,
right?
But trying to understand why people would think in that way, why they would become, you know, often even questioning their own what they're seeing or what they're hearing, or understanding somebody's twisting that around. But this was a book that it kind of really summed up everything that I would like to believe if that world existed. Then I think the planet would be in a better place. Do you know what I mean? It was such a beautifully mysterious book, and that you've got the central character is a missionary. Effectively, he's been sent to convert these peoples that he's come to visit, and he gets taken under the wing of a shaman, and the stuff that happens in there has all been properly, as far as they can, properly researched. Brian Bates is an anthropologist rather than a novelist, effectively, and he created a world that was completely believable, and it just totally drew me in. Combine that with the Sabbath album, and it was just, to me, to a 19-year-old kid, it was just magic. That you could tell a story so well. A thrash metal album could tell a story that well. Just blew my mind. So I'm going to take The Way of Weird by Brian Bates. I can read it over and over again.
You know, the way you describe it, it sounds like it's the sort of thing, because I've never heard of it, I'll be honest, but it sounds like the sort of thing that, as you read, I presume it almost transported you to this world, and it made, as you said, I guess at the start, made it feel real. Absolutely.
It's it kind of riffs on Carlos Castaneda's kind of shamanic exploits down in sort of Mexico, but in a Anglo-Saxon world. So it felt very. When you get into a sort of occultism and things like that, often these things seem so far away. You know, you've got Kabbalah or you know. Shamanism in South America, and all these systems of faith are not relatable to me. I'm from a northern climate. I've potentially got Anglo-Saxon or Nordic, you know, roots, and to find something that felt just so in tune with the environment that I was in, and it just spoke to me. You know, it spoke to me. The land speaks to you, and the themes are really pertinent to now, even though, like I said, I don't believe in the actual in the mysticism in the book. It's still the themes of how we sort of communicate with each other and how we communicate with nature are still very pertinent. Certainly, it's probably formed a lot of my thoughts and opinions about environmentalism and things like that, and those are sort of themes that we touch on in the band. So I would say it was really really inspirational to me at that time.
Well, you said you're not a religious person per se. Would you consider yourself a spiritual person?
No, not really. No. I'm a hard science realist, unfortunately. I would love to be proved wrong. I would love for there to be something looking after me, or some other world that I can go to later on, or how comforting would that be? But no, I'm pretty much a nihilist. I believe there is nothing else. Make the best of it right here, because it's not going to get not going to get any better. With food for worms, that's that.
On that note, that's the interview done, because that was enough. Okay, right, yeah, last one then. Go for it. What are you going to take?
So, as you can see, I've got a lot of books. There's no way on earth I could pick a book, as much as I tried. So I'm going to go game. And I was going to say Skyrim, because it's a massive fantasy epic and I can be lost in it. And I'm totally all about fantasy. But I'm going to say Red Dead 2.
Oh, okay.
Which would have been my second choice.
Really? Excellent.
It would have been my second choice again, behind Jedi Fallen Order. But yeah, go on.
Yeah.
I'll not take your glory.
So I want to spend time somewhere else. Being a cowboy, doing whatever you can do in that game, which is obviously massive. But the thing that swings it is that any piece of media that can entertain me by watching me control a little man chopping wood for a campsite has got to be a winner. Sure.
Eating stew.
Yeah. Some virtual coffee.
Yeah.
And be completely into it.
Keep just bloody
put the effort in to actually move my thumbs to make that little guy do that. That's magic.
Would you? How many hours would you say you've sunk into it? Because obviously you mentioned Skyrim, and I know Skyrim. You're talking 100 plus potentially. What about Red Dead 2?
Oh, well, I'm kind of on my second time round because I've just got a PS5, so I've never finished it because I'm totally into just wandering about in woods, and skinning toads and doing random shit everywhere.
Making hats.
Yeah, let's make hats. If I ever get to a point where I feel like I'm moving through the game, I'm like, no, don't let it end. So it's a continual thing, which is why it'd be good on an island, because it'll just be there until the day my thumbs don't work.
And that's even before we mentioned multiplayer. Are you much of the multiplayer side of things in that game?
I've literally, in the last week, I've just popped into online, and it's a lot better than it was the first time I looked at it. So I fear that I might disappear entirely.
I suppose, have you got any association with the sort of like previous last major, like Grand Theft Auto 5, and that's online multiplayer, because that was a time sink as well.
Yeah. I mean, I love games that just suck my soul into a vortex, and all that stuff. Anything that's deep and takes hours and hours, I love it. Grand Theft Auto Online was a little bit like left me a bit behind while there was loads of kids running about just destroying me. So I didn't really go there with that one.
I'll be like that. What's a man? I'm there at the time, so yeah.
I think there's people with more time than me to invest.
I like
bigger tanks.
I like the craft of the game. I like to play the game, and I like to finish it. And because there are very few games I actually finish, I'll get bored through. I can tell you there are 3 games that I've finished, and that's Skyrim, Red Dead 2. Oh, Red Dead 1. God, I was in bits after Red Dead 1. I was inconsolable actually. It felt like I'd lost a relative. Red Dead 2, which again not good emotionally, and Grand Theft 5. Yeah. I love Trevor. Trevor was the best.
Yeah, he was my favorite.
The best game character I think I've ever played.
Yeah,
he was just ridiculous. But yeah, I'm with Bish on that. It's games that you can lose yourself in. But I then like to finish it and put it to one side, like I finished a book. And I like to be, I like the art that the writers have come up with. I like the fact that it's being created by people, and that it's not just things forming and doing. So the online stuff doesn't interest me that much, because I know there's extra content and stuff.
It's more about your obsession, that bit. For me, I've kind of found myself a bit disappointed that I like it, because I know that I'm like, I've got to do it, and I really want to back out, but I can't.
It's finding the time now. Yeah.
I find that you don't play it for a week, you'll be out of the loop, and then it'll be forgotten about completely. I think whenever a game comes up, I like to try and guess, kind of based off what your first sort of, when you said Skyrim, and you said fantasy, I thought, okay, we'll either go into regular ones, World of Warcraft, because of the open world aspect to it, or I thought you might say The Witcher 3.
Oh, well, yeah.
Oh, love that. I love that.
Too late to go back now.
Yeah.
I didn't like Witcher 3 that much, but I'm not a Witcher fan. I tried it. It left me a bit cold. The number of games that I've bought over the years and played them for like an hour and gone.
Yeah. That was my introduction to the Witcher series. And yeah, I must admit, it didn't grab me immediately. But a couple of hours in, I'm like, right, yep. I'm in here.
I wish I got more time to play video games.
That's it, isn't it? It's time. That's it.
You're building a Indiana Jones style temple in the back garden. It kind of saps, stonemason in, and
you're not going to like lower people down onto a fiery pit and have a shame and rip the hearts out. I thought you might do it.
Yeah, you know me so well.
Yeah,
spectacular.
That's normal for Simon.
Yeah.
All right, guys, back to the band then. So overall, the last 18 months, how much of an effect would you say? Obviously, you couldn't practice and stuff like that, but how much of an effect do you think it's had on Terminal Sun? Do you think it's something that you're able to recover from?
Yeah.
I would say it's given us a boost, if anything, something to push back against and away from in a big way. I would say, it's.
For me, it was disappointing because we Fred's came out, the first EP, and we spent a lot of time on that, and we'd spent a lot of time really on the material, getting it honed, got into the studio, and we're really pleased with the results, and we got it out. And I think that it was difficult because we're in two minds. Do we throw the material out there and just see what happens without any sort of strategy or plan, or do we try and find a record label that wants to put it out and do it all properly? And we did the former and threw it out there and hope people would like it, and the people who heard it did like it, but it was a bit of a waste opportunity. And then COVID hit, and then suddenly that did put a stop on all the sort of promotion and whatever for that. So we'd got these other two songs written. We knew we wanted to get those recorded. Our engineer that we work with is more a producer, really, a guy called Tom Enthorne. He got a bit of time. He got a brand new studio that he just built. We were booked to go in there. It was a great studio in a cellar. We had a massive flood in Sheffield, and it was literally 7 foot under in water. So that kind of put the skids on that. We then had to record in a room above that, in a sort of a pop-up studio, effectively.
What did they call it? The Soggy Biscuit Studio. Something like that, wasn't it? Yeah.
Phoenix.
Soggy Phoenix, I don't know where I got biscuit from.
Well, we know
better name.
And then so we recorded it in there, and then they fixed the studio and recorded some bits that back down in the studio. Then there were some nonsense with the building's owners, and Tom had to move out, and then he mixed it at home over lockdown, which I think kept him sane. And then I finished off a last little vocal thing in his brand new studio. So, and I recorded a bit of it in my studio at home. So there were like 4 studios effectively in the making of this. It was epic. It took a year to record, but obviously a lot of that was just due to the fact that we couldn't actually leave the house.
We're a determined bunch, in other words, aren't we? Nothing stops us getting out of there.
And it's so nice now to be able to, because we've been sat on it for so long, and again, up in an hour and then going, shall we release this, or shall we like wait and get some records? And they were like, you know what, we're playing Bloodstock.
Yeah.
This is an ideal opportunity to just, let's get it out there. Because actually this marks the end of a particular sort of cycle for the band. So the material that we're working on now is being written for an album. We start recording that in February. We've got an awful lot of work to do to get those songs in the shape.
The ideas are coming, but they need to be molded into shape.
An eighth there at the moment so far.
Yeah, instead of the complete song.
Got months, plenty of time.
We've got ages yet, and but yeah, we've got time booked in the studio. Unfortunately, I think Tom, after working with us, has suddenly become very popular as a.
Of course.
It's definitely down to
nothing else.
To us, and yeah, so we're struggling to get his time. But to be fair, however long it takes is what we're going to do, because we don't want to go and work with anybody else. He understands what we want and what we're trying to do.
I did such a good job. Why would you? Yeah, I completely.
Why would we go to somebody where it's just a job? You know, this. He's not like that. It literally, he's like a 6th member of the band.
Yeah, really. I was just going to say that. Yeah,
we've not. This band hasn't recorded with anybody else. In fact, our practice room is actually in the studio that he vacated when he moved into his lovely new studio. So we moved into that studio. So where we created Threads is the place that we now call home as our Bunker 31 practice room.
So with that in mind, and that relationship there, and your own relationships, do you think you're stronger and it's brought you closer together, the whole pandemic situation, and then the situation that forced upon you?
Oh, I think we are. I think
there
was to be ridiculously positive, having a time where there was no pressure because nothing could happen. So there was no gigs coming on the horizon. There was not really anything we could go out and do except write music together. And as we said before, that was so cathartic just to have that outlet. So just being in a room doing what we do for so long without any real horizon just made us understand each other. And
I'll say no, like it being the main thing to keep me sane. Yeah, no, yeah, me neither. And, just having like the band as the main thing to keep me, sane and keep my head above the water. Apart from other things,
I think it gives us so much. It's not. I think I can speak for everybody. It's not just a band for us. We've all been in other bands.
Yeah,
we know what being in a band's like, and this has felt different right from the beginning. Just to sort of fill in a little bit. I mean, me and Gary, the other guitarist, were in Sheffield's first death metal band. We started that in '88. So I know I look very young, but I'm actually quite old. And
I don't want to age you, man, but I was 4 then.
I was 18 in '88, and we, it started out as a sort of a thrash band, and we were kind of hanging about with My Dying Bride and Cradle of Filth and Solstice and all the Dewsbury lot, and we were in that kind of little sort of thing, and it was all tape trading and flyers and, send me stamps back, the little con that we used to have going with the Pritt stick over the stamps and all. And it was proper underground, and it was great. You know what I mean? We were kind of doing that, and then we developed the sound of that into it became sort of death metal from that thrash start. Pretty much after seeing Entombed on their first UK tour, it blew my mind. I'd never heard a sound coming out of a guitar amp like it. They were playing with Carcass in a tiny club, not much bigger than this room, and they just changed their name from Nihilist to Entomb. They hadn't even got Left Hand Path out at that point, and it was like magic. It was like, you go along not knowing what the hell you're going to see, and suddenly there's these skinny Scandinavian kids on stage, and the sound comes out, and it's like, what is this? What? How can you do that?
The buzzsaw.
And we were down the front, like everybody else. Kind of there were me, and there were Byron from Balsagoff, and a friend of ours that were down there, and we were just head banging away. And Petrov, after the first song's gone by, goes, "This next song is 43 at the front," and it's like,
amazing.
You don't forget stuff like that.
So, but that experience was great. We played with Pestilence and Malevolent Creation and Skyclad, and it was a good band called Reprobate back in the day. We were big on the underground. We never got signed. Well, we did get signed for a single, and then we split up just as things were kind of happening. We split up, and grunge happened, and everything went to shit. And then I got out of music. I went and did medieval reenactment for 15 years. So I swapped one metal for another metal, dressed up in my armour, 15th century armour, smashing people up with big lumps of steel, and did all that. And then I got a call from Gary again after I'd just sort of retired from doing that, and he said, we're thinking about starting a new band. Gary was in a band with Bish and Kev, the bass player, and said, do you want to come and do some singing? And they were like, well, what you doing? It's like, it's all new stuff. And they were like, yeah,
we both turned up on the same day.
We both. I'd never met Adam at that point.
No, I knew Bish and Daryl, and I knew some of the other guys as well. From being in a band myself called the Pinnacus back in the day in Sheffield. That was like sort of in the 2004 till about 2012. I'd been out the game for a few years. Doing a few little musical things here and there. Did a little band that didn't really get it off the ground for a bit. That sort of thing, bit more bedroomy, guitar-y stuff. And Daryl invited me down for a jam. That jam turned out to be something quite more significant. And here we are. Got more than a bargain for, and I'm glad I went for it.
What's weird as well is, I didn't really know Bish, but he'd been to see Reprobate when he was young, because he's a little bit younger than me.
Way
you wouldn't have thought it, but way younger than me. And he'd been to see Reprobate live, and it sort of put you on your death metal.
That was my gateway into the heavier stuff. Yeah,
incredible.
Just to give you some, I'm going to give you some perspective on how old we actually are as a band. What's our collective age? It's going to be in the 200s, maybe. Something like that. Yeah. Well, I'm 42, and I'm the baby of the band. I'm the youngest one.
I'm 51.
Okay,
51.
guys,
Can you
man,
imagine that?
you're looking all right for it, man. You're looking all right for it.
All the booze and the drugs in the early days.
It's that northern air.
That clean northern air.
Yeah. Guys, let's go back a few weeks. Bloodstock 2021. Now, obviously, I didn't see you guys play, but plenty of people did. Was it as good for you as people saying it was? Obviously, you had a very early morning slot. You have to wake those people up. How was it for you?
Better than expected, I think, in a sense.
I can't.
Yeah.
To be honest, it was one of the highlights of my life.
Well, I'm not taking that away from me. It was for me. Amazing.
Yeah, when we got that slot, I'd said 3 years ago to a guy that I worked with, Tom, from who's got a band as well, and they got to the semi-finals.
Yep.
Sorry, finals. They got to the finals, and they got beat by Defamation of Man in the Sheffield heat. And we'd not played a gig at that point. We'd just been rehearsing because what I wanted to do was, I didn't want anybody to know what we were doing. I wanted us to hit everything running, I'd seen what Ghost had kind of done. Do you know what I mean? And I liked that idea of that you could actually appear fully formed and get people then, rather than, well, we're going to do a few gigs and warm up and get. No, we didn't do that. We
demo out, yeah.
We sat back, we wrote good material, and then it was like, right, here we are. Let's put this out and see what happens. And people seem to, you know, I could say that most people that have seen us are immediately drawn into what we're doing, and that's nice, because we do, as I was saying before, it's not like a normal band. We play with a lot of feeling. I think for an extreme metal band, there's a lot of passion goes in. I mean, how exhausted I am after a gig. It's one, because I'm fucking old, and two, because I put everything into it. It all goes in. If I ever went on tour, I'd be absolutely wrecked. Just you know, putting that amount of.
We'd be gibbering wrecks after a week.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I told Tom, I says, look, you've done really well to get to the final. Don't worry about it, but don't bother entering next year, because we're going to win. We hadn't played a gig at that point. And it sounds, you know, a bit big-headed, but I thought we were going to do it.
Yeah.
I've got a good, and we played, that was what, our third gig, wasn't it? The semi-final for Metal Masters was our third gig.
Woodstock, I think, was our fourth. Yeah, that was our fourth show. Yeah.
So we we went and played that opening, whatever, first round, and they'd never had as many people in the venue.
Nice.
They'd never had as many people vote for one band out of the thing, and it just went amazing, and everybody's like, we were buzzing. It went so well.
Snowballed, didn't it?
The gig was incredible. You know, it was a small gig in front of 90, 100 people or something, but it just felt so good. So it's like, well, we've got a chance here, lads. You know, this could happen. And then of course COVID happened. Everything sort of went on hold. We didn't know what was going to happen. We were supposed to be playing a final gig with 10 bands that were in, which would have like an all day thing, and they were like, oh, how's it going to pan out? And in the end, they couldn't do that. They had to just go on the scores and judges' opinions and all that sort of stuff, and we got through. And it was like, wow, this is incredible. What a great endorsement from all the people that were involved in that, and we can't thank them enough. The guys at Heel Turn have been really supportive of us right the way through. So to get to that point, for 5 old farts like us to be able to then go, we're playing Bloodstock, we're going to be up on a stage on Bloodstock, was an absolute fucking dream come true. And then we got that slot, and it was like, oh shit, we've got to get out of bed. And so we were like up at 6 o'clock on the Friday. We were so fucked from traipsing around on the night before.
Yeah, just
didn't even get to see Lawnmower Death, did we? We just had enough, hadn't we? We went to bed before Lawnmower Death, and and then we woke up and we got ready, and we had to be backstage at 9.
Yeah.
I think we were there about 10 to 9. We got there before the crew because we were that fucking stoked. And we're thinking, well, you know what? We've got a few family people coming down. Surely somebody will want to come and get out of bed and come and see us. And, you know, but it was a bit like, well, whatever. It's great. We're on a big stage. It's nice. We can run about a bit. We can do stuff. It's going to be filmed. It's brilliant. And then 200 people, at least 200 people turned up, which was mind-blowingly good, much better than I expected. You know, I mean, it was great. And then I thought, well, Fetal Juice are on halfway through our set. So at some point, I'm going to be singing and half the tent's going to be... And it didn't. We lost 4, 5, 6, literally 6 people went. And it's like, wow, that these people have got it. And, you know, thank you to them for sticking it out and seeing us, and the crew backstage crew.
Absolutely mint crew. I caught up with them over the weekend again just now at another festival, like top set of lads.
Adam was down at Birmingham.
Yeah. Brilliant little shindig that.
So we met with the crew again, and yeah, they were fantastic guys, and the whole experience from start to finish, the professionalism, the way it's run, and the day and everything was fantastic. And I literally though, we were shattered after that day. I tell you, we were shattered. We emotionally, I think, was the. It just couldn't get any better. It couldn't get any better.
No, absolute bucket list ticking stuff for me. Honestly, amazing. Yeah.
Well, you say it can't get any better, but one of the cool things about Bloodstock is it can get better, because just because you played the new blood does not mean that is where the journey ends. Of course, I mean, look at this Bloodstock just gone by. Look at the bands that were given slots and position on the Sophie stage.
Ashen Crown. Yeah, I mean, you know, it could. Hopefully, I think we're quite niche in what we do. I think you either get us, you know, you gotta kind of get us, but. I don't know. I'm hoping that somebody out there will have seen enough for what they like and have gone, do you know what? Let's come and play Sophie stage, and that'll be it.
That would be the dream. Yeah.
Next year after, whatever.
I'll take some of that. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Nomination number 2 then. This is specific. This is horror movies, because it's the only style of movies we cover on the website. And this is where I get super, super judgy, because I'm like a crazy horror movie fan. I've watched them since I was a kid. So hit me with them. Give me something really, really exciting and interesting.
I'm just thinking about ones I'll
do you want me to go while you're thinking?
No, I'll go on. I'll get it out. Event Horizon is my choice.
My goodness me, really?
I watched that literally 5 days
ago.
Did you?
What did you think?
Well, I've seen it millions of times.
Yeah.
But actually, it was a streaming one, and it looked shit. I don't know. I was going to put the DVD on, and my daughter went, "Oh, it's just on. It's on here. Watching it." It's like,
no, I saw it myself. I didn't see it back in the day. It was literally like 3 or 4 years ago for the first time, and
I was old enough.
I wouldn't have been. Well, maybe. I don't think. What year did it come out? Late 90s, I think.
It was something like that, wasn't it? Yeah.
Time. Yeah. But no, it's just this sort of. I can't quite put my finger on it. It's a little bit like the Lovecraftian cosmic horror thing. It's just. Yeah, just you can't quite put your finger on why it's so disturbing.
It's the best Hellraiser film that isn't an Hellraiser.
Basically, yeah, that's the way I'd look at it. Yeah, and I love my sci-fi as well, and just the way the two things marry together in it, just I thought were magnificent. And
I just hope somebody finds that footage, the lost footage from that film.
I had to ask it. Yeah, I was gonna
got it in a garage somewhere.
Have you seen the stills like that exist from that footage?
Yeah, absolutely.
Pure nightmare fuel.
What a film that would make.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's got some great bits in it. It's a good film. It's a good film.
I mean, because it's one of the. When was the last time you saw it?
Oh, probably about a year ago.
Okay. So quite recent then. Do you think it holds up by modern standards of horror movie making? Because obviously being a 90s movie, particularly certain characters and actors in certain roles.
Maybe not, but I see that as a good thing personally. I don't like a lot of brand new horror. I mean, a lot of my tastes seem to go back to the 90s, you know.
We are stuck in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, definitely. In some ways, you know, I'm open-minded, but there's just something about the horror of that era that I just absolutely love. And maybe some of the effects don't hold up compared to some of today's stuff, but do you know what? It's absolutely just genuine through and through what's there. And
I think it's a good shout. I think it's a good shout as well. I think it's worth remembering that came out in a period when Scream had just reinvented the slasher genre, and everyone was trying to copy that with I Know What You Did Last Summer and Urban Legend and stuff like that. So kind of Event Horizon sticks out in that period for being quite, as you said, very, very different.
Yeah. That tends to be the sort of thing I like in terms of movie, the ones that stand out.
Awesome.
They're daring to be different.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Okay, who's up next?
Okay, well, I'll go next. I mean, it's a difficult one. There are two. Obviously, we absolutely love The Thing. The Thing's one of my all-time favorite movies, just of any genre. It's the Rob Bottin effects are mind-blowing. Still hold up today, still visceral and totally disturbing. The feeling of claustrophobia in that film is absolutely superb. Love John Carpenter's movies, but I'm not going to pick The Thing.
Okay.
However much I love The Thing,
for us, that one.
it would be a little bit obvious. But my all-time favorite horror movie has to be Alien. I'm a massive Ridley Scott fan. Not so much his later output.
Yeah, you start picking it apart.
You know, let's maybe cut it off at Gladiator. I don't know. He's had these moments. I just like to say, I wish Alien Covenant had never happened. I could kind of live with Prometheus to some extent, but I think it's time we stopped. Please, Ridley Scott, stop making Alien films. But to go back to the original, wow, that as a kid, again, I was 9 when Alien came out, and I'd already seen the movie in my head hundreds of times before I actually saw the film, because back in the day, you could get these picture books of films, particularly the Alien one. And it was basically stills from, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's stills from the film with bits of the story. It's like a comic, but with the photos. And so I saw this before I'd seen the film, and I'd also got the old MPC model kit from an auntie as a 9-year-old. So I'd got this thing, and when I must have been 11 or 12 when I first saw it, I think. And it absolutely blew my mind. I mean, it was the first time I'd seen a creature rendered on screen that felt like it was utterly believable and utterly alien. The design of the suit, Giga's amazing set designs. Oh my God. I mean, literally every single thing that was designed, every bit of lighting, literally, to me, it is perfect cinema. That film is perfect cinema. The dialogue is written sparingly. It's to the point. It's how people talk. I'd never seen that. I'd never seen the science fiction at that distressed level. I mean, Star Wars did it, and brilliantly. And obviously Ridley Scott saw that and went, "That's the direction I'm going to go in." Yeah. But when you're down with Brett in the looking for Jonesy down in there with the chains going and the water going and the hat comes off and the water's on his, just so many utterly iconic moments in that film, and add a creature in that's the most fucking scary, the scariest fucking creature that you can, it doesn't stop. It's not going to stop. It's got acid for blood. It's going to,
It opens its mouth and then another mouth comes out.
That.
Yeah.
And it was the mystery of it as well. It's like, it's got fucking pipes stuck in it. I mean, why is this thing not just organic? Why is it, it's come out of an egg? Where's this thing come from? All these questions should never have been answered. We shouldn't have ever had let Ridley Scott try and answer those questions. Let's leave it as a big mystery. It was better left with us not knowing.
Let the viewer decide. Things like that,
hell. I absolutely love Alien. Everything about Alien, that's it. Alien.
I think in every one of these we've done, Alien has come up via someone's choice. I mean, it's a 42-year-old film at this stage. And The Thing as well, of course, as well. That comes up a lot as well. So it's iconic for that reason.
I love I love all the schlockier stuff. Reanimator. I mean,
yeah.
big fan of Reanimator. Big fan of From Beyond. All those Lovecraft sort of adaptations, particularly those two. Anything with Jeffrey Combs in. Well, I mean, Exorcist is one of the most disturbing 2 hours or hour and a half I've ever spent in a cinema as a kid. Yeah. Fucking hell, I was terrified.
Even now it gets, even though it's so dated to the 70s, but there's just something so disturbing.
These are films made by master craftsmen. I mean, Bill Friedkin, what a director at his heyday, and that really was, you know, French Connection and Exorcist. Fucking hell, that guy, those early scenes in Iraq and the documentary feel of it, setting it up, it felt real. It felt, and that's what I like. I like things to feel, you know, real and transport me in the way that you like. You know, we both like Red Dead. As a game, we want to be transported into worlds. You know, I love Legend. When Legend came out, fucking Tim Currier's Darkness, fucking hell, the best ever vision of the devil in any film you will ever see. You know, the most beautiful imagery. I mean, what a genius eye that man's got. You know, but yeah, I mean, I love early Peter Jackson movies, Bad Taste, and Brain Dead, especially.
Yeah, Brain Dead.
Seeing Brain Dead in the cinema. Sam Raimi, Evil Dead 2. Fucking absolute classics. Massive horror film.
Yes.
There we go.
Okay, last one.
So number 3, bearing in mind that I was going to say Alien, and also this is on an island, so we want to keep a bit of a spectrum going. A bit controversial because it's probably not even considered horror in the slightest nowadays. Lost Boys. Lost Boys. I love Lost Boys mostly because of the exact period that I was at when it came out.
Yeah.
The whole 80s, the whole vampires kind of beyond Dracula and into a bit more teenage, like alternative. Amazing soundtrack. Still amazing, most of the soundtrack today. Absolutely love it in all its glory.
I mean, I understand where you come from because it does encapsulate that time period. And as well, when you suggest that, okay, is it really a horror now? Because it's kind of been downplayed to a degree and seen as more of a fun, comedic elements to it. But it's got some bloody damn right horrible scenes.
Yeah, I think at the time it was definitely considered a horror film back then. But yeah, maybe now it's got it's been watered down a bit. But yeah.
Is it specific to that, or are you do you like vampires? Are you a vampire horror movie fan of all?
I'm a bit of a vampire fan, I have to say. Yeah. I obviously don't go quite so far as Twilight. There is a line.
Is it a glowing line?
No, not literally. Very bleeding edge line. But I am a sucker for a vampire, and a Western vampire, and a kind of dirty, dusty, near dark. Yeah. I almost said near dark, actually.
Yeah, that's the first thing that comes to mind when you say dusty Western vampire.
That was my third. Yeah, dusty, long leather jacket, vampiric 80s masterpieces.
Oh, that's amazing, because we talk to people about vampires and they're big fans. They tend to almost always lean back towards, if not Hammer, back to Universal and things like that, and those early sort of stars. But I think what you describe and what your thing is the start of the sexy vampire.
Without going too, definitely the start, but a nice dirty vampire who dragged himself out of a nasty hole. We're not talking Lestat, we're talking like bit dirtier than that.
Leather jacket.
There's the line. There it is. Yeah, not quite the stat. All right, guys. EP then. Metamorph. We're going to go, because it's 3 tracks, we're literally going to do a track by track, as it were. So we're going to start with, what is the intro? A Debt to the Truth. I have to ask, where's the recording from? And were you aiming to encapsulate the 80s sci-fi feel with the effects that kind of comes through?
Well, this is one of the things that I really liked about your review, because you seem to fucking absolutely get it. That's exactly what it is. It's a lead up to AZ5, the song.
Mhm.
So we've got Gorbachev basically apologizing at that point for the incident.
Yeah.
And after denying it and denying it and denying it and you know, holding things up. But yeah, that was it. But the feeling of it, I wanted to take it back to effectively the sort of 1980s BBC radiophonic workshop. It wants to feel like, I don't know if you're too young for this, but there used to be a documentary series called QED that used to be on that had, yeah. And as that, and sort of Tomorrow's World, and a bit of Doctor Who or Blake 7 maybe, and then there used to be a program called Just Micro as well, which was it was right at the beginning of the BBC Model B being popular, and there was a primetime TV show where they basically reviewed and showed you reviewed games and programs on the BBC Model B and showed you how to work it. And there was all these primitive, you know, they showed you a modem where you got your big Bakelite kind of receiver thing and stuck it in the big rubber cups, and it's like, and you can connect with somebody in America. It's like, yeah, whatever. But yeah, and it was you know, that was my era sort of growing up, the shonky effects and the brilliance of the BBC people that put these fucking bizarre sounds onto things. And also the because a lot of the Threads EP had a feel, you know, arcing back to sort of the 80s as well. It was very much about you know, nuclear. There's a feeling of nuclear war. The Threads thing is obviously based literally. I mean, although we've not actually done a song about Threads, the collection of the songs had all got to that sort of bleak, post-apocalyptic or very near apocalyptic sort of feel to them, and this is kind of where I feel the band sits. I think we imagined, you know, kind of what we liked about this stuff, and a lot of the music that we're listening to is, you know, still from that era, maybe a little bit later or whatever. I mean, we listen to a lot of new stuff as well, but it was definitely, we'd got that kind of 80s vibe thing going. And I imagine the Terminal Sun, the fictionalized kind of environment that we were kind of working in was this multi-level, I don't know, there's a Doctor Who episode where he goes down into the TARDIS and he literally walks down this massive, great staircase. And they just keep changing the number of the level as he goes down this same bit of stairs. And I just imagined the Bunker 31 complex, this really badly funded British X-Files type establishment that were doing horrible experiments in the name of doing good, but things always went wrong. So there's a picture of us holding a body bag, and that was one of the security guards. He's wearing red, of course. Security guards always have to wear red, and he'd been a victim of some awful experiment that Dr. Bishop had been performing on.
Yeah, those red sweater guys are going to get it straight away.
And it, you know, kind of like X-Files, but run by guys from the Open University. That was, I mean, Adam looks like somebody from Open University, so it's not that much of a stretch, really, to think that we could do that. And that was, so the music is super, super serious. We're very adamant that we're not a joke band in any respect. The science behind everything that we do has to be absolutely bang on. So if you looked, you know, if you read into AZ5 or Porterize the Sky or any of the songs that have got hard science in, they're researched to within an inch of their life. You could read, if you're an expert on gene splicing, you could listen to Apeshifter and you would understand exactly what I was talking about, and the layman might not. It's all.
Please don't put it into practice, whatever you do.
Yeah, that sounds like a challenge.
Yeah.
It's got to be. I've got, you know, a bit anal with the detail, so I have to get the detail has to be absolutely right. And this is what this is kind of where you know what I want to do. I want to make sure that the content, if viewed by an expert, they would go, this is right, this is proper stuff. And then we have a bit of fun on the Facebook page and whatever. So we'll dick about a bit on the Facebook page. The two things are kind of separate. The music's serious. The Facebook page, we have a bit of a laugh. It's about engaging people and
personalities.
And personalities and us, and it's about us. I mean, you know, so
we don't take ourselves too seriously.
We're not in any way. We're not particularly. You probably know from being with us for the last 40 minutes. We're not particularly serious people, but we have the music is serious. So anyway, so that was the thing about the intro. It was an homage to BBC Radiophonic Workshop and all these weird old kind of science programs and things from the 80s. It felt right for the song, and I wrote it. I love it. I think it's great. I'll write more of that stuff. I think, yeah, in the future there might be more of that coming.
Yeah, I love it too. And obviously, you already mentioned it does lead into AZ5 Chernobyl incident. Where does your interest in that particular slice of history come from?
I was interested in it before the Sky drama came out. I've always, I mean, I lived through it. I remember it happening. We were, you know, we're of an age when people were telling you that nuclear apocalypse or nuclear accident or all that sort of stuff was going to happen at some point. You know, you're gonna go out and you're gonna have to take your doors off your house and lean them up against a wall and pile 2 tons of soil on. You know, is that going to protect you? No, it's going to cover you up when the house falls down. They don't have to bury you.
Yeah, ready-made grave.
So a lot of, you know, the protect and survive leaflets and all that sort of stuff have always been kind of in the back of my mind, and certainly Threads and you know, focused that, I think, for everybody when that came out, and the QED program after that.
Well, the cartoon Where the Wind Blows.
And Where the Wind Blows.
Yeah, that as well.
Yeah. So all that stuff. So we grew up with that. So it's always been interesting, and I wanted to do something. I'd not really written about that kind of stuff before. I'd done a lot of, back in Reprobates days, it was a lot of sort of anti-religion and sort of proto black metal lyrics, really, in a way. And I wanted to do something different. I wanted to do something a bit more sort of technology based and think something that, you know, about real world stuff. So that was the AZ was a progression from the 4 songs that we did on Threads, and it kind of it's kind of like Threads 2 in a way. It's kind of it kind of fits within that sort of that group of songs. And yeah, but I must admit, the once the Sky drama came on, wow, what a powerful piece of TV that was. I mean, it was great.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it was a drama. Some of the things weren't quite right. I went back and then read the books that they based a lot of it on, and that was when I kind of right, I'm definitely writing about this now. And yeah, it was simple as that. And it was a question of finding an into it, and I wanted to focus, because it's not judgmental. It's not like oh God, look at what they could have done to us and blah blah blah. It's I'm not against nuclear power. I in fact, I'm a firm believer that eventually we'll probably get it right.
Yeah.
I think what I don't like is the fact that they scrimped on the construction of the fuel rods, you know, using graphite on the tips, which caused the problem, and then lied about it. And so as well as the actual incident itself, actually what's probably more interesting about it is the amount of lies that went on and the cover up and the way that Soviet machine at the time worked, where everybody was so scared to, you know, stand up and go, actually, this is what's happening or whatever.
Yeah.
And that was interesting. So kind of half the song's the technical stuff, and half the song is the human side to it. And you know, God, if they hadn't have, if those people, those liquidators and those people involved in sorting that mess out hadn't done what they'd done, I mean, the catastrophe would have been, you know, 1,000 times worse than what it actually was. So, you know, credit to those people. Mistakes happen. Things go wrong. Whenever humans are involved in things, things will go wrong. So it was a way of documenting it in a way, and not being too judgmental about it, but saying, look, you know, if you can fuck up, then fucking tell somebody about it. Don't, you know, put your hand up and go, we need help with this. It needs sorting out. And you know, that's what it is about, really. It's about what's, you know, why not the failure of the technology, but the fact that you're willing to put people's lives at risk for an ideological belief, really, and you know, keeping it hidden to keep yourself covered,
which is kind of relevant today in lots of parts of the world, isn't it?
It's absolutely relevant in this country right now.
Yep.
Across the world, guys, across the world. I mean, and of course, that then brings us to the title track, Metamorph. Well, call it an epic track is an understatement.
It just keeps going on and on and on.
It's fascinating. Well, you know, I think everyone could look just at the cover and the title and maybe put a connection together, but what they won't get is what you obviously wanted to do, which is tell it from the perspective of the alien. From, if you don't know, John Carpenter's The Thing. That's an incredible idea. I'd never seen it done before, but it did make me wonder, do you guys see it as a sympathetic being then?
Well, you've got to look at any kind of creature, haven't you, and go, well, this creature's trying to survive, and that's what it does. You know, crocodile that bites your leg off, it wants to eat your leg. It just wants to survive. It's not personal. It just wants your leg. So
it doesn't hate you, it just wants to become you, basically.
So the creature itself, I mean, to me, from the perspective of the Carpenter film, I don't believe that the creature built the spaceship. You know, that's not, and I think it's made clear in the nasty digital remake prequel thing. But you know, it's infected the inhabitants of the spaceship. The spaceship crashes. It then gets buried, and then we dig it up and go, what's this? Poke it about, and then it starts to take over. Well, what's it going to do? It's like, well, is it going to sit down and have a nice chat? It's been stuck in the ice for 10,000 years. It's pretty desperate. It's clearly a creature of, in the beginning, very limited understanding. It's survived. So the song's structured in such a way that it begins with very primal thoughts. There are simple words there. It's you know, it's about survival. It's cold. It's lost. It's got nowhere to go. It's literally, it's fallen out of this spaceship. What's it going to do? And then it freezes. But it's minimal. Do you know what I mean? It's minimal. It's got very little mass. It's got very little, because I from what I thought about it was, the more beings it can absorb, the more experience it can gain, the more knowledge it can gain, the more, you know, the bigger it gets, the better it gets, effectively.
And I think we've managed to sort of reflect that in the music, the structure of the song as well. It's got the separate passages, like you say, like it freezing, and then the thaw that happens, and you know, the music unfolds as the story unfolds. So I think that's what I'm really incredibly proud of, really, with what we've managed to do with that.
And then as it goes on, it's as it infects more people, its vocabulary increases. So it's how it's talking changes, how it's reacting to things changes. It becomes more confident. It becomes better at what it's doing. It very predatory because it believes that it's the only way. And the last part of the song is effectively like the creature's manifesto, that its entire vision is to turn everything in the entire universe into itself and become the same. Well, this is on that level. That's the Carpenter thing. That's the thing. But there are other things. Well, I don't want to sound too, intellectual about it, but there is a subtext going on through this thing, and it is about the dumbing down and the de-intellectualizing of society and the blandness of urban planning. Sorry, I never told you guys that this is what it's about. But it's actually
that time already.
I know it sounds really boring, but no, it's about everything becoming stale and boring and the same. So that thing that was wild and thrashing and primal, eventually, when it's absorbed everything, it's just all the same.
Yeah.
There's nowhere for it to go. There's nothing for it to do. It's like you walk down an high street and there are 10 fucking Starbucks or 10 Costas. It's the same fucking thing over and over again. And in the song, it's like all us, all you, all us, we're all the same homogenized blob of life. And it's frightening because, I've traveled a lot and I've seen all these different cultures and been, blown away by different places in the world, in Mexico and Thailand and New Zealand, all these places. And you want to keep what's good in those places and don't, you go to Mexico, people go, oh, you've been to Mexico, you went to Cancun. It's like, no, I didn't go to Cancun. I went to Mexico. I went on the pit around all the pyramids in Mexico. I didn't go and sit on a beach. I could sit on a beach anywhere. I want to go and see.
For that. No, I wouldn't.
You want to see the culture. You want to see I'm interested in history, and I want to see that. That's what I want. I want the differences to be appreciated, and so that's the really boring. The boring answer is that Metamorph's about bad town planning and city centre, urban sprawl, conurbations, and pedestrianisation.
The dangers of homogenous society.
No, it's about John Carpenter's The Thing, which is the second best horror film ever made.
Fascinating, guys. It really, really is. And like for anyone who's watching and listening, Metamorph, it's out now, so make sure you go check it out. It's a short 3-track. One an intro, the 2 others that you can kind of just put on and get to know you guys. I think it's if they don't already know who you are. Guys, last nomination then, the music. Now, this is always the hardest one for musicians, particularly when you're limited to one, because normally if it's an individual person, they'd have 3. But you've just got 1 record and you're musicians yourselves. So best of luck.
Now, this is the one I thought about the most, you probably guessed, but I'll dive straight in with it. My album of choice is going to be The New Black by Strapping Young Lad.
Oh, wow.
I'm a huge Devin head anyway, and Strapping arguably are my top metal band of all time. Now, that's not particularly the reason I've gone for it as a bit of a sort of desert island type of thing. It's because there is a bit of everything on it, ranging from, deeply sort of gut-wrenching emotional stuff. Like Almost Again is a good example of a track, that starts off in that kind of way and then builds via lots of incredible, proggy riffing and soloing and stuff into, an absolute raging, ball of furious riffs. And it's a fun album as well. It's the last one they did.
Yeah.
And I think they kind of knew that, from what I know about how things are going with the band, and they got to do stuff they always wanted to do. It's a bit more simpler in some ways, but, there's some really fun tracks on it as well, like Far Beyond Metal, which is like a live sort of favourite track.
Yeah.
They always used to do, and then, decided to pop it down on the album. And yeah. So that's my choice, and that's my reasoning for it.
Damn good one. So the whole development that followed Strapping Young Lad and eventually Devon Townsend Project and so on, that probably wasn't much of a surprise to you then, based off what you were hearing in that album.
Personally, no, not really. I think I was hoping at first that it'd go straight into doing more kind of strapping type of stuff.
Yeah.
I suppose he did, with Ziltoid and things like that. But, when he did go into doing the project stuff and, about 10 years or so ago, and he did, the 4 album set with Addicted and Ghost and everything, I was all in with that. I was absolutely drawn in, and not through personal bias of being a massive fangirl of Devin at the end of the day. It just got me into his whole ethos, and brilliant stuff.
No, of course, he is a legend for all the right reasons, man. Okay, who's next?
I'll go next. Quite easy for me, to be honest. Carcass, Necroticism, best album. If I had to pick best album, best band of all time, Carcass.
First time ever. And that's not a slur on Carcass, because of course they are legendary. But no one has ever brought up a Carcass album before. Death metal comes up all the time. But okay, well, is Carcass something that goes back to your youth? Is it the sort of thing you've been following along?
It's not so much the youth, but it is the kind of the first step into kind of death metal that had a bit of an edge. Not just death metal, but it had something else to say, but it was in the same genre. So the first track I ever heard as a drummer, Corporal Jigsaw Quandary, that drum beat kicked in, and it was like, that is it. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for death metal with a flavour, not just death metal. And that album, I just remember buying it on vinyl, listening to it again and again, reading every lyric. The fact that they've named the solos on each song, it's just like, it's a piece of absolute art. I adore it in every way.
Are you still as big of a fan of Carcass? Are you still following them along?
Yeah, I mean, they don't do that to me anymore, but I certainly have the odd wave of going and indulging in their new stuff as well. But they're a band that changed, aren't they? I mean, they started with all the grindcore stuff, and then the Necroticism, and they've evolved. So I appreciate that they've evolved. I think they get a lot of stick for the fact that they're not what they were back then, but they're a band, they write music, and who wants to hear the same 10 songs every 5 minutes? It's an evolving thing. It's a creature that will always have my respect. But the Necroticism is the moment of wonder.
Oh man, yeah. I think Heartwork was the first Carcass album I heard, and that was obviously quite,
a bit nicer.
Nicer, I like that.
Symphonies of Sickness. Well, Symphonies is wonderful. Once you've been introduced to Carcass,
then you can go back to Symphonies. Yeah.
Surgical Steel really, like, that knocked my socks off when I first heard that a few years ago when it came out. Really enjoyed that.
Yeah. They've got, for a band that do what they do, quite they just do what they do. But there's a lot of hidden stuff you will not hear the first 3 times you hear an album, and it's always giving for me. Always giving more.
This melody though, isn't it? There's melody in there. It's the same. Yeah. It's the same when I first heard Emperor. It's like, Christ, this is just like really extreme noise, and then you start hearing Ishan's melodies going off into, and you can follow those melodies through, and it's like, wow, this is beautiful
melody,
beautiful stuff. And it was the melody that drove me to, like, a massive Emperor fan, and it's great stuff.
Well then, it's your turn.
Right. Okay. This is truly horrendously difficult, because there are literally hundreds of albums, but I'm gonna be controversial. It's not a metal album.
Okay, cool.
Nice. It's it's the first album I ever bought with my own money.
Yeah.
It's Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds.
Oh, what a beauty.
Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds album has been with me since I was 7 years old, and it scared the shit out of me as a child when those aliens started with their oohs and everything. It was literally one of the scariest things I'd ever heard. And fucking hell, that album still stands up. It's a prog rock masterpiece. It tells the story in a fantastic way. The individual songs are standout, brilliant.
Yeah.
The artwork was stunning. I had it on gatefold with the giant, lyric booklet thing, and it never fails to really sort of grab me. And weirdly, when we first all got together, we're all very different musically.
Yeah.
Adam loves his Devin stuff. I'm sort of more black metal orientated nowadays. Kev's very much into his Meshuggah and that stuff. I don't know what Gary's into. Who knows? Sausages. But we're all very, very different. And but you know what? That was the one thing that we'd all got in common. And it was that way of telling a story through music. It's an extreme way of doing it in that sort of musical thing. I fucking hate musicals.
Yeah.
But I love that album. Yeah. I love that album. It's superb.
Even a bit of Phil Lynott as well.
Phil Lynott in there, David Essex in there, Julie Covington. I mean, there's some really brilliant singing, brilliantly written music. I don't understand why Jeff Wayne never managed to replicate that. He did that Spartacus thing. Yeah. That was pretty rubbish. And he never managed to do anything else that was really as good as that. It was just of its time, but Richard Burton doing the narration. Yeah. I mean, it was like a film, but in your head. You know what I mean?
Your stuff on Ablation to Invaz from Threads, that does remind me of Richard Burton on that.
No,
I will say that.
Thank you, I'll take that.
Honestly, it does.
Other
things are available.
So that's it. It's going to be War of the Worlds.
Yeah, I get what you're saying about the fact that you can't quite work out why it's never been replicated, but sometimes things are just of a time, aren't they? The perfect encapsulation of people involved and all that. And obviously the War of the Worlds has such history and synonymous from the radio show and to, definitely film. But you know what the answer is, right? You know what you got to do, right? Now, that's a future album from Terminal Sun, their own version of the War of the Worlds. Conceptual?
Well, I don't want to spill anything right now. But, we are writing an album.
Fantastic.
It's not going to be War of the Worlds.
No, of course.
I'm not gonna. It will have an underlying theme.
Okay,
so I do love concept albums. I have decided it's going to be a concept album. So it's going to be one.
Well, that brings me to the last question before we get to the secret thing that I didn't tell you about beforehand, that no one gets told about beforehand and comes out at the end, top of the head. The future. Let's talk about the future and what's happening now. Now, obviously, you've talked a lot about writing the album and stuff like that, but what about shows? What smaller things that you're going on right now or you've got in the works?
We've got a gig with Baal coming up, which they're playing their last album in its entirety, and we are supporting them in that. So that's going to be fun. That's coming up. That's in Sheffield. There's a nice hotel. So literally just after I come back from Iceland, we'll be straight into that, and then we've got another gig planned again with Baal and Call of Luna in December at the moment.
Early December.
We are as do love playing live, obviously, and any promoters out there who want to book us, quite happy to come and play. But we have got an eye on the recording ball, and we do want to spend quite a bit of time getting this music written. So we love the gigs, but we like the gigs to be sort of events in a way, because we like to put so much into it. I'd rather play 6 amazing shows than 20 mediocre ones. It's definitely about quality than quantity.
We try and go one up on every show we do, really, in some way. Just raise the bar of just one aspect of it, even if we can. So yeah, following on from Bloodstock, yeah, we've got some work to do.
Yeah, that's going to be
It's a high bar
going back
jump
to
there,
going back to small stages is going to be a bit. Yeah.
I will happily play anyway. I'll play in someone's front room.
Well, that's it. If
there's
you know,
refreshment provided, I'm there.
If we end up with 10 people that are absolutely into it, I'd rather do that than play to 1,000 that don't care. So it's about touching people and not in that way, moving people,
Right, for a minute.
and you know, and these are stories that we're telling, and they are, you know, they are supposed to be sort of ingested and hopefully people will go and read the lyrics and take stuff from that, because that's what I did as a kid, you know, learning about music and, you know, running down the HMV from school to go and pick up Master of Puppets or Justice for All or History of a Time to Come or you know, any these albums, you know, they were, and you pored over those lyrics, and it's kind of a shame. I like streaming music, don't get me wrong. I fucking pay for Spotify. It's shit, but you know, it's brilliant because I can go, I've never heard of this band, and I can do that, and I've got that band there, and I can listen to them, and that's brilliant. And the fact that you've got access to that huge amount of material is great. But what it does do is it stops the investment,
of course,
in that band, and it stops not just financially from an intellectual or an emotional point of view, because you had to work at it. You know what I mean? When you buy records or CDs or whatever, when you buy them with your own money, and then you take it home, you fucking listen to it because you've spent money on that thing, and you invest your time and effort, and you get so much more into it. I mean, I guess when you got necroticism, you were poring over those lyrics, looking at all that stuff,
even down to the what bands they thank at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're going, oh, I've never heard of that band. I've heard of like Electro Episode. I've never heard of Bolt Thrower or whatever. And it's like, and then you're following that.
It was a bit like, you know, having the artwork and the lyrics and the music all as one, you know, experience tied together. Yeah, that's what I think we want to try and recreate a bit.
So if we could bin anything, and I know we're not doing the binning, if we could bin anything, it would be probably for me, but I'm going to say digital fucking streaming, and make everybody go back and buy their albums and do some work for a change.
Good old physical media,
get into your physical media, go and read the bloody lyrics and pour over the artwork.
Pushing against the tide there, gents.
Yeah, I know. Well, you know, pushing against Father Time, I think.
Yeah, that's true. Guys, so the secret thing. So basically, it's one more nomination, and it is anything in your lives except a person or a pet, because God almighty, people try and be clever about that. Something that you feel you can't live without.
That's
Good.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna say I call it my new guitar. One of my many wooden children. That I live with, and I can't live without it because it's an amazing bit of kit and it's really inspiring and it does weird and wonderful things and sounds awesome, and
Now, if you'd actually brought your notepad, your blank notepad, and your guitar, you'd have been sorted.
Yes, exactly. We'll be cracking on with the album that we need to.
What about you two guys?
A bit black and white, really. Because as much as I kind of hate where society's pushed us with technology, and that we're all staring at these little boxes in the hand, hate it. But it's got books in it, and it's got music in it, and it's got films in it, and it's got other people in it, and my phone is pretty special and also terrible at the same time.
I've actually got a repetitive strain injury in my thumb from using my phone, but I cannot live without it. I mean, it's in front of me and I keep side glancing at it. I know, it's ridiculous.
Hang my head in the shave.
I'm going to be really pretentious. I'm going to say the sun, because without the sun, we'd all be fucking dead. So it's the sun.
Even a terminal one.
Even a terminal one.
provide us with limited warmth until our untimely demise.
What a perfect way to close out this.
Like we've done this before or something.
Incredible.
We haven't.
Gents, thank you so much for taking time to do this. We've gone an hour and a half, so
Wow.
we will wrap this bad boy up. Guys, thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
We enjoyed it.
It's been
Thank
a
you so
pleasure.
much.
Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?